Welcome back to another episode of the A-10 Insider Podcast here on the Field of 68 Media Network. Rob Dauster here. I got Jeff Goodman with me. We are going to be joined in just a few minutes by Archie Miller, fresh off of a rivalry win over the Providence Friars. We're not going to go too deep on an intro here, Jeff, because we're going to be rehashing a lot of the stuff that we just talked about last week for today's show. But we were able to get Archie for about 20 minutes on Saturday after his win over Providence, and we wanted to make sure that we got that to you guys while it was fresh, while it was new, and while it was on the top of your mind, because I know those Rhody Rams are loving the fact that they were able to get a win over their in-state rivals.
Crazy, Rob. I mean, crazy. If I had told you this in the preseason, that Rhode Island, who, let's face it, you and I, and in the interview with Arch, I kind of mentioned it, like you and I thought like we might have to keep the seat warm for Archie Miller to come back to Field of 68 because they've not been great his first 2 years. And he's been frustrated because he thought he could get this thing going a little bit quicker, but NIL kind of changes things. Just like COVID changed things for him at Indiana. He's had kind of a rough go if you think of it, because Archie Miller is a hell of a basketball coach. We know that. But he's had kind of some things that have made it difficult for him to be able to coach his team and do what he does best.
You're putting me in a really tough spot here because I want to say nice things about Arch, and they're 9-0, and we're doing the A-10 Insider Podcast. But I also want to troll him and make fun of him because it's so much more fun to say mean things about Arch than it is to say nice things about him. But you're right, man. They're sitting here 9-0. I don't think anybody. I would not have predicted this. I did not see this coming out of them.
Nobody would have. Arch wouldn't have predicted it. Come on, nobody did. Nobody.
And what I will say is this, right? Like, it's not like they have played a juggernaut. They haven't played the schedule that Alabama has played. They haven't played the schedule that Memphis has played. But beating a Providence team with Bryce Hopkins back, like that's the warning shot right there. Like, you go 8-0 against the schedule they played, okay, right? You probably should have won all of those games. It's good that you did.
No, you beat Charleston by 30, though.
Yeah, I know.
Charleston by 30.
I know. Look, I know, but this, like, beating Providence is the one where it's like, okay, like maybe this is real. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. Loyola also picked up a nice win over USF. They were trailing late in that game. They found a way to come back and win. George Mason.
Hey. We've got 2 of the 8 teams in the country right now that do not have a loss hailing from the A-10, Rob.
Yeah, I know. Look, the top of the A-10 is going to be fun this year. It remains to be seen how many bids that they are going to be able to set themselves up to try to be able to get. But the top of the league, to me, there are 7 teams at the top of the league right now that I look at, and I could talk myself into all 7 of those teams winning. That is Dayton, VCU, George Mason, Loyola, Rhode Island, the Bonnies, St. Joe's, and St. Louis. So I think that's actually 8.
Yeah.
That's 8. That's 8 teams at the top of the league. Yeah, that's 8 teams at the top of the league. Well, I forgot about St. Louis because they dealt with some injuries, and their KenPom numbers are not as good as they probably will be at the end of the year. But 8 teams, it's going to be fun, man. I don't know if this is going to end up being like a 4 or 5 bid A-10, but if it's not a multi-bid A-10, then I think that I would be really disappointed if I was I think that they put themselves in a position to be a multi-bid league, specifically with Dayton and VCU at the top.
You know, you and I talked a lot about November and early December being huge for the resume of the A-10. Well, this weekend is mammoth for a couple teams. And you're looking at Dayton gets a shot at Marquette at home. Now, Marquette's a top 5 team right now. If Dayton can win this game, they firmly entrench themselves in the conversation for an at-large team.
No. I'm going to go farther than that. If Dayton wins this game, they will be an at-large team as long as they don't do something stupid.
Right.
Barring it, like they would have a win over Marquette and UConn. They would be an at-large team.
And their 2 losses, Iowa State and North Carolina. Those are 2. Yeah, I mean, Iowa State's going to be probably a 1 or a 2 seed at the end of the day. And then, you look at some of these other games this weekend.
Bonnie's at Providence. VCU gets Colorado State at home. Like you had a chance. Richmond getting Belmont at home.
What about George Mason at Duke? Could they next week? That's the 17th. Imagine if Tony Skinn could take George Mason into Cameron and even fight him. Like, I'm not saying you got to get the win there, but that's a huge more of a boost for your confidence going into league play if you can play Duke tough there. But I think the one that you're circling here over the next week, if you're an A-10 fan, it is Dayton because, like you said, that pretty much gets them in a spot where unless they're not in the top three in the A-10, they're locked into an at-large berth.
Yep. And I think Dayton has a chance to win that
Of
because
course they do.
they have a young man by the name of Posh Alexander, fifth-year senior, played in the Big East, really, really good defensively. And if you could slow down Cam Jones, you have a chance to beat Marquette. And he is a guy that I think can slow down. When I say slow down Cam Jones, it's like, yeah, can you hold him to like 25 instead of letting him get 40 on you? So we'll see. Cam Jones is awesome. That is going to be a great game. I'm really fired up for it. One more I want to put on your radar.
Yeah.
Loyola gets San Francisco. San Francisco is a top 4 team in the WCC, which is a lot better this year than I think people realize. Washington State is beating a lot of people. I think that Santa Clara is really good. So Loyola gets San Francisco on a neutral court. That will be a quad 1 or a high quad 2 win if they can find a way to be able to win that. That's going to be the biggest test Loyola's had so far this season.
Before we get to Arch, I just want to touch on one thing that I think is important to talk about here, and I'm going to use Frank Martin and UMass as the kind of test case for it, the example. Frank had a great year 2 at UMass last year. They kind of shocked a lot of people. They were in contention for the A-10. And then all of a sudden this year, they've really struggled. 3-7, they lose to UMass Lowell this past weekend. And a lot of people are going to be wondering what's going on there. I will say this for a lot of these programs, Frank Martin is not alone in these mid-majors. When they catch fire, right, when a team like UMass catches fire for a year, it is awfully difficult to sustain it if you don't have the resources to be able to retain your players. So it's a completely different team this year. It's last year. You're seeing this happen all over the country. In fact, again, you're going to the portal and there's a lot of luck involved, Rob. There's a lot of luck because you're recruiting a bunch of kids in the portal that frankly you didn't recruit maybe the first time around out of high school, especially somebody like Frank, who a lot of these kids, he was at South Carolina. Now he's at UMass. It's a different level and it's a different regional player as well. So, I think I just wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit about Frank. And obviously, he's got to be frustrated. I haven't talked to him. I'm afraid to talk to him right now, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want to talk to you either if I was Frank Martin. So, listen, that's a good point you made. We have Archie Miller here. Let's get into that interview. He was in a good mood, let's say, Jeff. He was in a good mood. Archie Miller, Rhode Island Rams, coming off of a win over the Providence Friars.
The Rhode Island Rams are on the national radar in college basketball. URI takes down Providence for the first time since 2019 with a 69-63 win over the Friars earlier today in Kingston. And we are joined by the third-year head coach at Rhode Island, now our former Field of 68 colleague, Archie Miller, is with us. Archie, congratulations on a great win over Providence. Your program is 9-0 for the first time since 1947. How have you been able to get to this point with this team and win a rivalry game over PC today?
Our team was together a lot more this summer. We had a little foreign trip. We went down to the Bahamas. We spent a lot more time together than we maybe normally have in a couple off seasons with a lot of additions, and we made it a point to work this summer a little bit differently. Almost treat the summer almost like it's the fall, and we're able to learn a lot about our guys, but more importantly, our players for the first time needed to get a chance to spend some time together, know who they're working out with every day, go to the Bahamas and do that. That trip was beneficial to the bonding chemistry. And then, I think we realized pretty early we had some pieces, but building our defense and becoming a tough-minded group and doing all that stuff, it's been a work in progress. Our schedules helped us here early. We've been able to get some confidence with winning. I think that's important depending on who your team is on a given basis, on a yearly basis, that you don't beat yourself down when you don't have to. And we knew coming into December, Yale at home, Providence at home. That's a big week. You know what I mean? Those are two teams right there that compete. They're trying to compete for March just like everybody else. And this was a big week. But today, you don't need a lot of motivation. There's a lot of hype around the game. And I think, we wanted to make sure that we were, doing the things that we've been doing. And I didn't think we were great in the first half. But I thought in the second half, we really settled in and we were able to control the game a little bit more. And it made it easier on our defense because, Providence, best thing they do is their speed, especially with Bryce coming back. And we were able to contain that a little better in the second half. But, it's every coach has, a different group almost every year. And we made it a point that, we were going to try our best this year to really spend a lot more time on the front end and get a chance to get some things sorted out before we got into the games.
Hey, Arch, before the year, I was a little bit worried that we might have to keep your seat at Field of 68 warm. All right?
You may.
No. Hopefully, we're not going to. I love you.
Don't do that, Goodman.
Listen,
don't do that. We're not doing
that. I love you, but I don't want to see you.
He loves the hot seat.
I don't want to see you back here.
We're not doing the hot seat, Goodman. We're not doing it. Nope.
He loves the hot seat.
The best part of Arch now is, he's with us for 2 years. You think he learned, Fanta, that you got to be short and concise, especially after watching his brother for 2 years ramble and ramble and ramble. And that first answer, I clocked it. It was like 2 minutes.
Stop. First, two things.
Fanta, would you please tell him that me, Sean, and myself, we're not in the same categories when it comes to this stuff?
Yeah, two things. Number one, Rob Dauster's had 3-minute reflections that just weave and go all over. Number two, your brother has his own podcast, and not one of those have been short.
He went from Field of 68 to his own production company.
Amazing. Hey, how big was the return of Sebastian Thomas and what he did for you in the second half today was absolutely huge. They kept him kind of off balance in the first half, but he was great. And, when he left, he goes to Albany, puts up big numbers after, frankly, not playing a ton for you 2 years ago, and he decides to come back. What was that initial phone call like? Do you remember?
Bassie bet on himself. He wanted a bigger opportunity and role. He bet on himself, and he got that at Albany. And those guys put him in a position to, not only produce, but have to produce and play a ton of minutes. And I tell you what, he went out there and proved it the old-fashioned way. He earned it. And he's become a guy that has a chip on his shoulder. He plays with a chip on his shoulder, and that's what you need when you're a small guy. In terms of point guard play, he is a true point guard. He can run the position. He can control your team. He can speed your team up. He's quick on defense in terms of his hands, but he's a completely different person, and that's a credit to him. And this time around, we're getting a chance to see, sort of the best version of himself. But Matt would be the first to tell you, when you have good point guard play, a lot of other things can come into play after that. And he sort of stirs our drink, so to speak. And he's got big guts too. He's not afraid right now. And it's probably pretty cool to see, unfair to him, 2 coaches in his first 2 years of college. Wasn't a very good situation when I was there. When I first got there, he was there. And he went out there and he bet on himself. He proved to himself that he belongs. And him being able to come back was, really a high school decommitment when we started to get into the portal this spring. And it wasn't like we were recruiting him or anything like that. It just so happens that the stars kind of aligned, and we were able to bring him back. And thankfully, he wanted to come back.
Coach, we live in a day and age, and it's what have you done for me lately? And instant gratification and the portal and everything. And you're supposed to win in year one, but sometimes you got to go through some stuff. Yeah. And you look at your program the last couple of years and what you guys have gone through, and I know we got a long way to go before the A-10 tournament and all that, but just it's got to be gratifying just to see where your program's at now. And you didn't forget how to coach, right? Like when you're going through some struggles and everything, but just for you and your program to see where you guys are now, it's got to be a little bit gratifying for you.
You know, a lot of work was put in. You know, we've sort of been laying in the mud with our face planted in it. And, you know, you're trying to get up and you get pushed back down in it again. You know what I mean? It's just like, are you ever going to get any breathing room? It's not easy depending on where you're at and how you have to do it. And you're trying to figure out the right strategy. You know, in many ways, in the last 3 years, we've had to change philosophies in how we recruit or what we're doing. And we made a commitment in the springtime to bring back the right guys. You know, and I look at the guys that we brought back, and Dave Green, Jaden House, David Fuchs, Cam Estevez, and always Wright was brought back as well, always as redshirting. But those 4 guys played a lot of minutes for us. We needed some retention, we needed some production, and we needed to build around them. And we were able to bring back for the first time a core group that had some experience. And then we kind of went into the portal with not a random philosophy. We needed specific pieces, and we didn't want a lot of them. And right now, you know, we're playing a really tight rotation. Guys are kind of bent into their roles. And I think at the end of the day, maybe this recipe took a couple years of struggle to figure out, but it's not easy to go through it. And I'm happy that, you know, our team is embracing where we're at right now, just in terms of like the feeling of winning, because that's what it's about. But I'll also tell you this, that, you know, it can go away quickly if you don't keep your eyes on the prize. But make no mistake, it has been a slow climb, and trying to tinker with the philosophy and how to get it right. You know, it takes some time maybe, but I like our pieces.
Last question, Arch, before we let you go, because McCall, I don't want him to get into an accident here driving.
Yeah, this would be bad.
I'm in the side seat. My wife is now driving, and there's
Did you
cops
flip
all
in the
around
middle
us.
of a filming? Did you flip seats while you were filming?
I did.
Unbelievable.
Oh, that's how.
This is
That's how
Gottlieb-esque.
dedicated I am. That's how dedicated I am.
This is very Gottlieb-esque. Hey, Arch.
What? Are you comparing me to him?
Well, I don't know if you can juggle as much as Gottlieb can, but I mean listen, you work for like 4 different places. You're a realtor. You do a lot of things.
Just trying to provide for my family, man. That's it.
Arch, how do you?
Hey, aren't we all? Aren't we all?
That's it.
Arch is saying that. Come on. He's got a house that overlooks the ocean in Narragansett. Come on. Hey, life ain't that tough for you, Arch. I know where you live.
10 minutes ago, you had him on the hot seat. Goodman.
He's getting ready to put me out there in the ocean a couple minutes ago.
Golly, don't worry. I was on the hot seat at UMass before I even got the job. Okay,
that's true. Because nobody could understand him. That was the difference, Arch.
Two things have happened in this interview. One, Goodman's first question led with the hot seat. 2, he said, "This is my last question before we let you go." And then we got a traffic report from McCall, and I don't know what the last question is. So what's your last question?
Last question. Obviously, this is probably the biggest win in your tenure so far at Rhode Island as the head coach. How did you celebrate post-game?
You know, I think locker room is excitement, and want our guys to enjoy winning. You know, they have to get addicted to that feeling. They have to want to be in those type of games and those type of environments. And when they're able to realize, you know, those kind of moments, you know, to me, you're learning how to win a little bit. But our locker room is excited. We have to move on quickly, unfortunately, but I want them to enjoy the day. And it was a big win.
Did you dance in the locker room, Arch?
I do not dance. I have a bad back.
Oh, come on. No, you do not. Listen,
he's on a Stairmaster. He doesn't have a bad back.
I have a bad back, and my guys know not to mess with me after the game and leave me alone. If they jar me just a little bit, I'll be on the side. I'll be on the bench and won't be able to stand up.
I have a real last question for you. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah. Just the Ryan Center, and when you guys get in an environment like that, Coach,
it's tough.
It's unbelievable. And it's one of the best environments in the Atlantic 10. It really is. And you guys had it today.
Yeah.
How important is that for you as you guys enter Atlantic 10 season and your program? Because it's electric when it can be like it was today.
Yeah, it's a great place to play. I've been on both ends when we came in as an opponent, and obviously today, you know, brought out the best in us. But no question about it, to be successful in college basketball, you have to hold serve at home. And as you know, when you do have a place like we do with the fan base that we have, we can create that special season or consistency at home, and that's what we're striving for. But today, fantastic environment. And we probably don't win the game, obviously, if it's not like that. I mean, we needed that environment. But you're right about the Ryan Center. It's a beautiful building. Our fans, they're craving, good teams, good products out there, and hopefully this one right here, can get us snowballing a little bit.
Arch, before we let you go, I do have a real last question, and that is, your brother talked a little bit about this to us previously, and I want to hear it from you. When you take a step back and you do the season with us in the media world, I know it's a different type of stress working with Jeff and Rob and company, but I want to know, what did that allow you to do that perhaps has made you, I don't know if a better coach is the right way of saying it, but just better off in this job? Something that you've learned about yourself as a result of taking a step back that now you use in this job?
I think the one thing is studying and preparing for you guys and being able to communicate, listening to other coaches and how they do things and whatnot. I think it's just take a deep breath every once in a while, a little bit more than maybe beforehand. It's living and dying with every moment that you have as a coach. And, you learn you die a lot more than you live. And I think, taking a year off, watching the coaches and the players, talking to the coaches and the players, just watching different types of games, you got to take a deep breath and understand you got a great opportunity. And, you're at your finest when you're concentrating on the right things, not just the stressful things. And, win or lose today, you got to come back tomorrow and you got to be the best that you can for your players.
Hey, Fanta, by the way, Arch continued his dominance at defending the free throw line tonight. Providence was 8 for 15, 53% from the line tonight. Arch, I don't know how you do it, man, but you do it.
Sean and those guys like to joke about that, but now there's a lot of people that actually text me after games and say, good defense at the line. It's all
now it's a thing. Now it's
a thing. And, when you grow up in Beaver Falls, there's a bar called the Corner Tavern. And if you go to the Corner Tavern at night and there's a group in there, they'll start to put the Corner Tavern jinx on you and they'll start to do like one of these. I do the little Corner Tavern jinx before every game. So make sure you guys understand that that's coming back from Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, that little rim jinx on the foul line.
Hey, you got any last words for Fanta and his Cleveland Browns before you go, Arch?
Hey, I just know this.
He needs the Corner Tavern jinx.
Hey,
that's what he needs.
I just know this. That Blizzard Bowl was a fluke, and we will double back with you in the near future.
Yeah. I go off results. And we won that ball game a couple weeks ago in the snow. But the Cleveland Browns have not won a regular season game in Pittsburgh since I was 8 years old, and that drought's going to continue tomorrow. So congrats in advance.
Yeah, good luck in the draft.
Thanks, Arch. Good luck in the playoffs.
We'll be moving towards the AFC title game.
Thanks, Arch. Congratulations on your victory over the Friars, and have a great rest of your Saturday night. Good luck the rest of the way. We love this story out of URI.
All right. Appreciate you guys, man. Good luck the rest of the way on your end as well. You got a lot of balls.